All right, so it's 4 o'clock, so we're gonna get started. It looks like we have a full house, the maximum number of participants that we can have in this. It looks like we have that, so that's awesome. Thank you guys so much for taking the time. Obviously, it's a pretty strange and unique time, and it's not fun to not be around the game, but we want to make sure that we as a club are providing you various opportunities to still stay connected with soccer in general, but the club and your teammates, and obviously us as coaches as well. So, so thanks so much for participating today. We are going to go and get started. The focus of our webinar today is dribbling or passing. When do we do either one, and what cues are there in the game that provide that? Provide the decision-making process for which one we do. So that's kind of what our focus is today. I've used video as much as possible from youth players because I think that relates more to where you guys are as players. And so rather than seeing professional players who are obviously at the top of the game, players who are similar to you in age and where they are in their development. And then I wanted to use St. Croix players as well. So there's only a couple teams that we have video from. So it's nothing against any teams that are not included. It's just we happen to have a lot of video of certain teams. And I think all but one of the clips is from St. Croix teams. So we thought that was an important part of it as well. So so if you're in this, I think I warned some people who are in it. They're primarily good. We might nitpick on some things, but by and large, all these clips are here because they're excellent examples of the things that we want to see and have our players understand. So so that's kind of where we'll go with that. Again, if you have a question at any point, just hit that chat button. I think somebody drew on the screen. I have no idea how to get rid of that right now. I'll see if I can figure it out. Yeah, let's see if we can figure out how we get rid of the drawing on the screen. I don't know. We'll figure that out later. We'll just go with it. Ignore those red lines. So first, we got to start with game principles. All right. So the purpose of the game in the attack is to progress the ball. So move the ball forward toward our goal that we're trying to score on. Pretty reasonable, pretty simple. The second thing is, as we're moving it towards it, at some point we've got to penetrate. So we've got to get behind the other team. So we can, if we want to progress and move the ball towards goal, but we never get behind the other team, it's going to make it more difficult to score. So first we want to move it toward the goal. Then we would like to get it behind as many of the opposing players as possible. And then we've got to create. So can we get the ball into positions where we can actually take shots on goal? Because that is the objective of the game. Regardless of how your team plays, your team might play very direct. Your team might play more possession. But at the end of the day, when you have the ball, it's about these three things. How can we move the ball forward? How can we get it behind as many opponents as possible? And then how can we create chances to score goals? So those are the basic game principles that we're going to work with here. So when we look at dribbling, the objectives, all right, now this might sound kind of, I don't know, simple, but we want to attack. So we're going to try to bypass or beat the opponent who is right in front of us to get behind him or her so that we can try to attack space to goal. So that's the first reason we would dribble, the first objective to dribbling. Sometimes we do it to provoke. Sometimes we're trying to attract defenders. We start dribbling and more defenders come to us. All right, and then that creates space somewhere else for us to play to a teammate. So one of the things that we need to think about here is that we can't think of dribbling and passing as two separate things. They're related to each other. Sometimes we dribble. In this case, we're dribbling to set up a pass. All right, so something we need to think about is that they're related. And in the clips, you're going to see multiple examples of it. Might be a dribbling clip, but you're going to see a pass involved in there as well. And we want you to start thinking about how those two things are interrelated at times. So we also do it to create. So can we can we give the ball to a teammate who's actually in a better position than we are? All right, so we might want to dribble, we provoke, we attract those defenders, and then we can pass it to a teammate who's in a better position, maybe to have a shot on goal, or maybe one who has space to attack in front of him or her, and then they can kind of create something for ourselves, either a better pass, a dribble, shot on goal, something like that. And then the last one is escape. All right, we often think about dribbling in 1v1s in terms of the first one in particular. We say 1v1s and you automatically think, oh, I'm going to dribble at somebody and I'm going to try to beat them. And in practice, that means we're trying to score, you know, across a line or to some cone goals or to mini goals or maybe even against an actual live goalkeeper. But sometimes we have to dribble to actually get out of pressure. And that's what escape is. So we're trying to elude pressure or congestion so that we can keep the ball. When we think about the 1v1s, we think, oh, can I beat a player and create a shot on goal? That's definitely an important part of dribbling. But there are also times where it's important that we are good dribblers so that we can evade pressure and we can actually find a teammate or find space that helps our team keep the ball. So those are the 4 objectives when we dribble. So we're going to look at some videos shortly, and that's what I want you to be thinking of. So the first thing when you watch every single video, and you can respond in chat, what in that video clip is the player trying to do? Are they trying to attack? Are they trying to attract or provoke? Are they trying to create? Or are they trying to escape? So that'll be the first thing that we want you to answer when we go through each video clip. Now we look at cues. So when do we dribble? All right, we know why we're dribbling. All right, we're looking to attack, we're looking to provoke, we're looking to create, we're looking to elude or escape. But then what tells us that we should do that? So 1, your opponent drops off you and gives you space. All right, she or he just gives you enough space to do it. They don't step to you and get aggressive and get in your face. They actually drop back, or maybe they just stand still and don't close the space between you. So that might be an opportunity for you to dribble at them, all right, and try to gain some territory. Maybe it's an isolated defender, so it's just you and your opponent. That's it. There's no help for that defender. All right, there's no touch line. Maybe you're close enough to goal or far enough from goal where you have the space. So you isolated that play. That might be particularly maybe wide players. You might find yourselves in these positions often, and you might often, when you get the ball in space with just one defender, maybe your coaches are telling, go at her, or take her on. And the cue for that is it's you versus one other player. And usually if you're a wide player, you tend to be decent on the dribble. And so your coaches want you to do that. So that's another cue for us to consider when we decide whether we want to pass or whether we want to dribble. All right. Sometimes there's a gap between 2 defenders and there's space between the 2 of them. The important part there to think about is if you go between 2 defenders, those 2 defenders have to make a decision about who is going to be the player to confront you. If one of them goes, then they're going to free up space. If neither one of them goes, then it's going to allow you to continue to dribble. If both of them go, perhaps it frees up a teammate somewhere else. And again, you set yourself up for a pass to create the opportunity for another teammate who is in a better position or in more space. So sometimes we have to look at, instead of dribbling right at the opponent, sometimes we should look at the gaps between the opponents and dribbling at those to force the defenders to make a decision. The other one is there might be tight pressure. All right, you might not have any options to pass. It might be you don't really have too much of a decision to make. You have to dribble because there's just simply no space for you to make a pass. So now you suddenly have to dribble, and maybe you're not trying to beat the player, but you're trying to create. You're trying to find that passing lane for you to give the ball to a teammate to get yourself out of pressure and to help your team. But you're still dribbling, and you still have a purpose. So that is one for sure where, again, we think about 1v1s and dribbling in terms of beating players. But then so oftentimes it's less about that than it is anything else. Give me 1 second here. I need to make a little change within our webinar for Coach Jesse. So he's not unmuted. So hang with me for 1 second. Oh, I gotta stop my sharing. All right. Sorry guys, I'll be there with you in 1 second. I can find Jesse. There we go. All right.
There we go, unmuted.
All right, sorry about that, Jess.
That's all right.
We'll get better at this whole webinar thing as we go along. It's our first one, so far we could be doing worse, I think. All right, so let's go back here and scroll through. All right, so we talked about being tight pressure. Qualitative superiority. That's a fancy way of saying you're better than the player in front of you. Maybe you're the best dribbler on your team. all right, and you have a player isolated, then maybe you should think about dribbling. Or you're at the top of the box and it's you and one of the defender. Or maybe there's 2 or 3 defenders there, but you're still the very best. Maybe you're the best dribbler ever in the state of Minnesota, all right? Then you should go at that player. So sometimes it's a question of, if you're an excellent dribbler, then you might dribble more often, all right, in certain situations. Does that mean every time you should dribble? Absolutely not. But if you're excellent at dribbling, then it's something that you need to think about. If you're not very good at dribbling and you have the decision between passing or dribbling, then maybe you're going to choose passing more often. And that's okay. We have to know our strengths as a player. So that's definitely something that we need to factor in. And then the last one is the opponent playing a high line or offside trap. Sometimes, especially as you get older, you might run into teams that do that, and you play your passes and you know you can get in behind the other team, but their trap is well timed and you keep getting offside. One of the things that you can do in those situations is just dribble at them, because the other team is so worried about pushing up to make sure that they catch you offside that sometimes they forget that, oh, there's a player who's got the ball and she's just dribbling, or he's just dribbling, and they're not going to stop. So sometimes you can just break through their entire line and get through that way. So that might be something, another cue that we consider in this. So the second part, while we watch these videos next, all right, the first one, remember, is what is the objective? What do you think the objective of the player in the clip? What was their objective? Was it to attack? Was it to provoke or attract defenders? Was it to create space or create a passing lane for themselves to a teammate? Or was it to escape pressure? All right, most of the video clips are pretty clear. There might be 1 or 2 that we have to watch again because the ball's on the far side of the field, which we'll do. We might play them twice. But if you can respond in chat with the objective first and then the cue. So what was it that told that player or influenced that player's decision to dribble? All right, so just 2 quick ones. You don't have to have the right word. Just phrase it however you remember it. But if you can just respond in that would be fantastic, because we want you guys to be involved in this as much as possible. We don't want to sit here and chat at you the whole time. So we're going to go through these clip by clip. All right, so this is the first clip. So be ready with those responses. All right, Nate and Jesse will be responding to you to give you some feedback. All right, so here we go. We'll watch it one more time. All right. So objective, anybody know what the objective was of that player with the ball? All right, some good responses so far. How about the cue? What was the cue that told her she should dribble?
Get out of pressure.
Yeah, the defender was high up. Yep, that's a good one. Yep. So one question. So who was that? Macy. She knew space was behind her, and anybody can answer, but Macy's the one that said she knew the space. What would she have had to have done before she dribbled in order to know there was space behind her? Anybody want to answer? I'll ask that. Yep, check shoulder. Excellent. Awesome, you guys. That was perfect. Love it. Thank you so much. So we'll skip. Now we'll go to a different one. So this is a different clip. All right. So remember, I said there'd be passing involved, but this is the real one that we want to look at. So again, one more time. Maybe. Oh, nope. There we go. All right, so we look at that one again. Let's think about what's the objective. This one's a little bit tricky, maybe. Yeah, I think looking at the responses, those are good. So somebody said to attract, yep, to attract defenders for sure. There's another one that something else that she's doing there. Yeah,
there
she
it
saw
is.
the space.
Macy.
Excellent. Yep. Excellent work. All right, so we'll go to the next one then. Now this one is a little bit risky. How about this? What's the objective? And what are some of the cues? Yeah, that defender, she took the space of the defender. That defender came on her pretty strong. She came in fast, but she just went the opposite way. See, she closes her hard and then whoop, just cuts away into the space. If you also look, she doesn't really, whoop. We don't want to go there. We just wanted to pause. Wow, what's going on? So if we look there, she doesn't really have a lot of great passing angles either. So she's almost, we talked about, sometimes you have no passing lanes and you have to dribble. I think she recognizes here pretty early that she doesn't have a lot of great options. She can always turn around and go back to her goalkeeper, but she feels confident enough. We talk about your individual qualities. This is a player who's pretty good on the dribble. So she feels confident, says, you know what, this defender's coming at me hard. I see there's a lot of space behind her. I feel like I can get away from her and get into that space. All right, so this is the one non St. Croix clip we have. This is actually Coach Jesse's college team, St. Kate's. All right, so we'll see what the objective, see what you think the objective is, all right, and see what you think the cues are. There's actually two really good ones in this clip. Two really good dribbling examples.
Do you want me to chime in here, Joe, on this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So one thing, I'll explain this one. So Jesse Campos, this is my college team. One of the things we always talk about is if opponents back off, you need to just attack. You need to attack the gaps on the dribble. The player that decided to cut inside, one of our strongest players on the dribble. But we always talk about dribbling kind of diagonally across the field. So if you break the field into vertical channels, it's instead of going forward all the time, can you cut across? And if you cut across, what does that do to opponents? Like, it makes the defenders make really tough decisions. As soon as number 28, the wide player, decides to cut inside and go at all of that open space in front of the defenders, somebody had to step, somebody had to move. And as soon as she catches them moving and coming towards that ball, she's able to get rid of it. And the wide player, the same thing. She saw, so on the far side, she realized the defender dropped off. So she decided, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to go at her, take a little bit more space, and then see if I can cut inside and look for a shot. And all of this, try to do this fast before the opponent has time to get organized. So that was one clip I decided to throw in here, that dribbling across the middle of the field can be very helpful as long as your head is up and you're looking for additional options as you run out of space.
Yep. Look at where every player in black, look at where their head's at. Every single person in the shot is looking at the player with the ball. Nobody is looking at any of the other St. Kate players in white at all. And so by driving and attacking the space that she had, she creates an opportunity for a teammate who then obviously goes and scores a goal. So I'll play it just one more time here. Now we're focusing on this player a lot in the middle, 28, but then look at this player out wide. She gets it. Looks like she's going to get to the end line and maybe put a cross in, and then just cuts it back. I don't know, Jesse, does she have a good left foot?
She does. She can strike with both feet. So she's a player we encourage. she can take them on. And that's the thing is, if you want to beat people along the end line like that, sometimes you have to cut in and take a couple of shots so that you don't become predictable. The reason she's able to cut back and shoot like that is because the first 15 minutes of this game, she beat that player to the end line. So if she beat her to the end line 3 or 4 times, the first thing that opponent is thinking is, I'm going to have to drop off because she's going to want to take me to the end line again. Well, the 5th time, she decided to cut it back. So, again, another part about the dribbling is you don't want to be predictable either. Make sure you can do both and do them both well.
Yep. All right, so here we go. Next clip. So what do we think the objective is? And then what were the cues? Play it again. It's glitchy? Okay. Let's try it one more time. The player with the ball. So let's look at, I'll go back one more time. Somebody asked which player. So this player. Oh, this player in possession right now. So she's obviously dribbling. We think of dribbling a lot of times as going at players, beating players 1v1 faced up. But obviously she's taking touches and she's dribbling. So what's her objective? And what are the cues that told her that needs to be my objective right now? Yes, escape. Awesome. Excellent. Excellent. All right, so we'll go to our next one. We actually have 2 examples right here. So before you ask, because they're good questions, which player? So this first player in possession, why is she dribbling? What's her objective? So this first player right here, why is she dribbling the way she did? Oh, attacking to open up space. Very good. To find more options. Excellent. To create something, right? Excellent. All right. And so now she makes that pass. And we've got another player here who's going to dribble to create. Yep. They're dribble to attack. Excellent. So if you've noticed, we've kind of gone from the back of the field. Our first couple clips we were looking at as we build out of the back. In our defensive line, that one was more in the midfield. The one before it was in the midfield. And now this one we're starting to look at being in the final third, in the attacking third, closer to the goal we're trying to score on. So we'll look at this again. Whoop. So this is the 04 team. This is one of the teams I help coach. This is one of our better dribblers who plays out wide. So this would be a player who, if you notice, when we start this clip, there's 3 players around her. And sometimes, a coach might say to you, hey, that's not the time to dribble. For this player and a couple other players we have who are excellent dribblers, especially out wide, we go back to individual qualities. Go ahead and try it because you have the ability to beat those players. So this would be one of those cases where you kind of have to know what your coach is expecting from you. Yeah, take the space and go to goal. Exactly. All right. So this one might be tough to see. The ball's all the way over here. All right. So I apologize. We wanted to see it in a different part of the field. So I'll show it one more time just because it's hard. So there's the player with the ball. Kind of keep the cursor there. Obviously, I think you're going to say dribbling to escape, but let's focus on the cue a little bit more. What cue right now tells her, maybe I shouldn't dribble anymore? I think there's 2 big ones. So I'm going to freeze it right there. So it's not, the screen's not frozen. It's frozen on purpose. Hard pressure. Yep. How many players are defending her? Too close to the end line for how many players she had. Yeah, that might be a consideration for sure. Yep, tight pressure. What else in the middle? If she wanted to go to goal and try to play a cross, what problem does she have? If we look in the middle of the field, if she does beat these two players,
No
yeah,
space.
excellent. Excellent. All right, so the last two clips here in dribbling. This is just beat your player. These last two are just beat your player and go to goal. And then one more. This is a little bit different. Oh, nope, this is the same one. Go to the next one. All right, so those are the dribbling. So we go back to game principles again. We're going to talk about passing, but it's the same thing. Progress, move the ball forward to goal. We penetrate. We get behind the opponent, and can we create? We pass the ball to get into options to take a shot. So our objectives, very similar. We want to attack with our passes. We want to beat opponents, all right? We want to move around them, behind them, between them. Can we provoke them? So sometimes we pass the ball to attract defenders, knowing that they're all going to go to that player we pass it to, and then all of a sudden we can play into another space where those defenders left. We move it quickly, all right? Sometimes we move the ball just to make the defenders move, all right? Maybe have a team that's playing further back, all right, and not attacking a lot. Maybe you need to move the ball to make them move, and then that creates some of the gaps, all right? And then, again, obviously escape. Sometimes we just want to recycle a ball. We go down out wide like we saw in one of our clips. There were two defenders there, nobody in the middle. So we just need to go back and give it to a teammate who maybe can find a different part of the field. So we want same objectives: attack, provoke, move, escape. So our cues, pretty obvious: open teammate, who can shoot, and open teammate who is closer to goal. All right, so obviously if we're in the back, if we're closer to our own goalkeeper, we're not always going to be able to pass it to a teammate who can shoot. All right, but can we pass it to an open teammate who maybe is closer to goal, all right, who can help us progress it and move it toward our goal. All right, we can find a player maybe who an opponent steps. We dribble to attract defenders. They step toward us as we're dribbling, and now all of a sudden that leaves a teammate open, and we can give it to that teammate to kind of take advantage of the space where the defender is left. Numbers up, meaning there's two of us and one of them. Again, if the defender steps to me, to the ball, then I'm going to play it to my teammate. If the defender runs with my teammate who doesn't have the ball, then I can continue to dribble. But we can always kind of use that numbers up situation. When the defender steps to the ball, then we give it to one of our teammates, because then we have the advantage. All right. Open teammate who will attract defenders. So maybe I play it out wide, knowing that they're going to try to press us there, and then we quickly pass again to a different part of the field, and we have numbers up again. All right. Or we might go backward, the inability to play forward. So we can't dribble forward, we can't pass forward, but we can always turn and play it back. All right, and then we can go to a different area of the field. So again, same clips, same idea. We'll try to go through these ones a little bit quicker, but the objective, some of these clips are the same. All right. Some of these clips are the same. Most of them are different, but there's a couple. This one is definitely one of the ones we saw in the first set. So here it is. So objective, remember we said we're looking right now on this one, we're looking at the first two. We're looking at this. There's a pass, there's a pass, there's a pass. So there might be multiple answers here. What do we think the objective is? Remember, we attack, provoke, create, and escape. Or move, I should say. Attack, provoke, move, escape. Attack, escape. Yep, they attracted. Yep, they attack. They also, if you think about it, they attract. So real quick, as we watch this. So this pass, they start to move. One more pass. Whoop. At least when I make a mistake, I give you a cool sound effect. So there you see, you watch the 3 players in black, they all get attracted to the ball. A little bit.
I'll chime in here with one other,
Yep, go ahead,
one
Jesse.
comment. The central midfielder, that's just about the top of the box, she's the one who will receive the pass to get out of trouble. What I really like here is she checks her shoulder, she checks the space, but she doesn't come all the way to the ball to help. She stays tight, and she trusts that her teammate's going to split them. And that way she can now turn and get out of trouble. Like oftentimes we tend to want to come closer to the ball to help. Makes more sense. Just kind of sit in that hole, wait for them to break that pressure, and then you're going to be a great option to get out. If she comes too close, she's not going to be as helpful.
Yep. And your answers, I'm looking at the chat, they're fantastic, because remember we said at the beginning, dribbling and passing are linked sometimes. So it's not that they're totally separate. And the same thing with the objectives. They might be linked. So they're attacking, but they are escaping, and they are creating. So, you know, they attack to try to go forward out wide. It doesn't work. They attract 3 opponents, and then they play a pass to escape that pressure. And then we get into a whole other phase. We start that cycle all over again. So these are really, really good. All right, so we'll move to the next one. So again, we'll go one more time. So if we look at this one real quick, you notice the player receiving the ball, she starts to dribble, takes a touch forward, the defender gets attracted to her. So remember we said one of the cues was the defender steps towards you. So watch right here, the defender steps towards her. My teammate out wide is open, so now I'm going to pass. So that was one of the cues. Good. Yep, get into space. Find a higher player forward with a better opportunity. Fantastic. You guys are doing awesome with these. Thank you so much. All right, so let's go to this one. Sorry, Coach Jesse's telling me something about the video. So this is, again, we used this one before. So this is the dribble to escape that we used. But now the cue is she's passed. So we've got a couple passes here. We're not going to talk about this one too much because it is later again. But we just see that as an example. So we are playing in black for this one. I know we've been in white most of the time. It's always nice when you have a clip that can end in a goal. So again, we'll see that one a little bit too, so we won't talk too much about it. This is one we saw before. So this is player dribbling. She's double teamed, nobody in the middle. She plays it back to a teammate who can now serve in a cross with, you see how many more players are in the box now this time. So that pass to a player who's free, who can then play forward, and we get the opportunity. A nice little passing sequence here. So generally, especially these first few passes in the sequence, what were the cues that told the player that, hey, I'm gonna play a pass here? So I'll ask again, what were the cues here early for this pass? So we go like, oh, pass, pass, pass. What were the cues there that helped them with that decision? Anybody have an idea?
I think it's glitchy. Got a couple of people commenting.
Okay.
There's one.
One of the problems with quarantine is that everybody is on the internet. So like I've noticed my internet is slower. I go to load my Netflix binge watch and it like takes forever. So it could be that. So I apologize. We'll just skip this long one. Maybe some of the long clips that we have problems with.
So can I chime in for about 15 seconds?
Yeah.
Back to that other clip.
Yep.
What I like about that one is they're trying to combine through the middle, and they're using some short combination play to get through the middle. It's really tight. There's a lot of defenders there, so they decide to kick it out wide and see if there's a better matchup out wide. So all of these are wonderful decisions. If I'm the wide player, what can I do off the ball to really better prepare myself for that pass so that I can set myself up to be really dangerous as soon as I receive it? Because this final pass, it does get there. Open up your hips, absolutely. I open your body up, and where would I want to take that first touch? Check your shoulder, go wide to the goal. It's fine. If there's a gap there, I might find it. Start further wide. That would be helpful.
Yes, I love that. That's a great, well done.
Creating windows, right, between myself and my defender. I want some separation so that when I receive that pass, I'm going forward. I'm going to that end line. It's me versus you. And I can attack you with some speed. I can use some of that dribble that, Joe talked about earlier. And now I'm going to look, then once I get to that end line, I'm going to find somebody else for the goal. So really, really helpful when your teammates can combine down the middle. If you're a wide player, like I grew up playing, right? Like how can you be helpful to your team? Because you're going to get it next. So this was really good. That was the only thing I would maybe do.
I just want to highlight one thing. Ivella, your comment, I like this because I think what we've been talking about, that's the first thing I think of. But now Ivella just said, come to the ball to create space. I think maybe come to the ball to support and you can play a combination, which is kind of like everybody, like we're all talking about one thing, but this is part of what you need to think about as players. And you guys can talk on the field about that, about why you're doing what you're doing, because I think it would have actually been, it would have been a completely great idea for this player right here to actually check and make this pass smaller, and maybe this player who gives her the pass continues to run and we play a quick little combination, because look at all that space for her to get into. So I think that's a great idea. I mean, if this player opens up and gets it, she can attack this player 1v1, but she could also check to it. So a lot of times there's not a right or a wrong answer. A lot of it depends on factors of like who it is. Maybe you play with that player really well, or maybe that player, one player has a great shot. Maybe it's how your coach wants you to play. So it might be that. It might be something where you just have a different idea. My idea is not right. Like what Jesse and I were saying is not the right answer, and Ivella's is not wrong. They're both right. We just, as players, we all need to kind of understand and talk about, hey, in that situation, let's look to do it, give and go there. All right, because maybe what Jesse and I are talking about is an obvious one. So maybe it's a little bit easier to defend, where Ivella's idea might be unexpected. So again, that's a great example. There's not a right or a wrong answer, but we do need to talk about them and communicate them and figure out, well, why does that make sense to do that, instead of just saying, well, we should have done this or we should have done that, without kind of talking it through. So great work, guys. All right, let's see here. I think this is another little combination. So this is the kind of got off here. So we just look, this is a simple 2v1. You see there's numbers up. This defender is isolated. This player's got the ball. The defender's good. And so we just went to the wide player because of the numbers up situation. And we end up getting a corner out of it. This one, simple. The clip is a little bit cut off, but basically the ball, let me pull this back here. The ball started with this player. The pass is already on the way. It's to a player who has more space. There's a defender right in front of the player who just passed it. She gives it to a player who is more open, who can take a shot on goal, or near goal anyway. Hopefully this one's not too glitchy because it's a pretty decent little combination. Just to help you guys out in case you can't see, the ball's right here. Gets played in here, a little pass there, takes her on and goes at her for a shot. All right, so 6 factors to consider. All right, 6.5 factors to consider where we're going to pass or dribble. So where am I on the field? All right, obviously if we're closer to our own goal, you know, dribbling might not be the first option, or dribbling to beat a player might not be the first option. It might be dribble to create space to play a pass, might be dribble to escape or elude pressure, all right, but maybe dribbling to take a player on. Not that we never would do it, but we'll probably do it a lot less than we will by the goal that we want to attack. So where am I on the field? Where is there space available? All right, we need to, you guys have already mentioned, you got to check your shoulder, you got to pick your head up and see what's going on. So where is there space available? I need to know that before the ball arrives so that I have an idea of what I want to do with it. Where are the defenders? All right, so we need to be aware of where the defenders are. If the defenders are backing off us, then maybe I can keep going with the ball. If there's a defender right on top of me, I have to make a quick decision and know what I want to do with it. Where are my teammates? So it's good enough to say I want to play a pass, but if my teammates aren't thinking about the same pass, how many times have you played a pass to the player's feet and they made it run into space, or you play a ball into space and they were looking for it at their feet? So we have to know where our teammates are, and we have to be on the same page with them. What's the situation in the game? Maybe if maybe we're 1-0 up in State Cup final, all right, and there's less than a minute to go. Maybe we don't want to dribble as much. Maybe we want to play longer passes in that situation. Who knows? Maybe you're the best dribble on a team and you're down 1-0 and you're isolated against the player. Maybe you want to go and try to beat that player and get a shot off on goal. So we have to know the situation in the game. And then the last one we've talked about, what are my individual qualities as a player? And maybe what are my teammates' qualities as well? We'll look at that in a little bit. And then what are my team tactical principles? How does my team want to play? Does my team like to play shorter passes? Does my team like to play longer passes and get it toward the goal we're attacking a little bit quicker? So those are things that you have to have an idea of. What are we trying to achieve overall as a team, and then maybe in this situation in this particular game. So location on the field, again, the closer to goal, the more security we value and control, all right? The closer to goal we're attacking, the higher degree of risk we can accept, all right? So if we want to take players on and we lose the ball, they still have 100, 110, 90, whatever, a lot of yards to go before they get there. And then in midfield, we've got to have a balancing act. Like we can't be super safe all the time, but if we're always risky, then we're going to open ourselves up to counterattack. So we've got to find that balance between managing security, control, and risk. So if we look at this, as we're building out of the back, you see players here, we've seen this clip already, very secure. They're patient, they're waiting to find the opening, and then they go. So they opt for the more secure option. If this player was facing, if we're going a different direction or attacking third, we might say to one of these two players, whoop, player receiving the ball now, or this player out wide, we might say, go dribble, go ahead, take her on. But in this part of the field, we want that security and control. And you see, we're able to exit out of that third of the field without a problem. Again, same thing here. This is that balancing act. So this player could be really dynamic right now and say, you know what, I'm going to try to turn her and get into space. But you see, they've got 2 other defenders right here. So even if she turned, that would create a problem. So here, she's just going to balance it. I still want to go forward, but I want to make sure that we can keep the ball. So again, there's that balance between security and risk. All right. Now we got green. At least the green looks better than the red. At least it kind of matches the field. And then this is risky, right? We're in the attacking third. All right. Yeah, they've got 3 defenders back. All right. And a 4th one right near the ball. We're okay with that. Because if we lose the ball here, we still have a lot of players for our team behind the ball, and they have a lot of space that they still need to cover to get the goal. So we look at those thirds of the field vertically, and we want to be safer and more controlled. Closer to our goal, we want to balance risk and control in the middle, and then we can be super risky in the final third. So horizontally, don't have any video clips for this one, but if we're in the middle of the field, all right, so we talk about like maybe the width of the 6-yard box all the way the length of the field. obviously we can use the entire field. We can go left, we can go right, we can stay in the middle, we can go forward, we can go back easily. So the middle of the field, we have more options. And we're in the channels, the half spaces of the channels. So kind of between, if you're playing, a team's playing a back four, that space between the central defender and the fullback, the wide defender, and that space, it's a space where if you think about how your team lines up, no matter what formation you play, if you play a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2, 3-5-2, whatever system you play, that space a lot of times doesn't have a player naturally positioned there. So when the ball goes in there, somebody, a player has to move into that space. A defender has to move into that space to defend. So that's where we can move players around a little bit, and it can create openings elsewhere in the field. Or nobody moves there, and that space opens up. And then wide, obviously, it's great to get crosses in if you've got a winger who's really good at taking players on 1v1, but it also causes some problems because the defender can use the touch line or the end line as they get closer to goal to limit your space and actually use it as an extra defender. Free space, we've talked about this already. You guys have mentioned it in your comments. So it requires you checking the field, looking up, scanning the field, seeing what's available. It affects how you position your body before the ball arrives. So if you want to go forward, if you can position yourself so that you can immediately go forward and don't have to turn after you receive the ball, all right, it's gonna determine how quickly you can get into that space. And then it also is going to influence where and what type of first touch we're going to take. So if we see a big space, we can take a bigger touch. If there's not a lot of space, we might need a first touch with a lot more control. So again, looking at this, so we talked about the player knows that there is a player immediately on her back, so she takes a closer touch, kind of gets the defender to go in, and then as she goes here, you see that big touch. So she knows where the space is, and that influences what she does. All right. So one more time. So the closer touch gets the defender to go in, and then as she escapes on the dribble, she takes a bigger touch out in front of her. This one, again, just playing the ball into space because we know our teammate is running onto it so that we can play a pass that's a little bit further out in front of her, and she can attack. The opponent. How far away is the opponent from you? Are they close? Are they far away? How many opponents are there? Is it just 1v1? Or do you have numbers up? Do they have numbers up? Is it even numbers? So we've got to factor that in. What are they doing? Are they being aggressive? Are they stepping hard to you? Are they backing off? Are they standing still? Maybe you've seen that. Maybe you know that player really well. All right. Maybe you know she's going to be super aggressive. All right. For 04s, maybe it's Bandana Girl. All right. You know she's going to come in and she's going to try to clobber you. All right. So you can use that information. You know she's going to be aggressive, so I've got to be quick. I've got to try to get away from her because if I stand still, she's going to come in and she's going to whack me. All right. Or maybe she's slow. All right. So you know, okay, I can go at this player. Or maybe she's super fast and you're like, if I don't get a step on her, I'm probably not going to beat her. So I'm going to have to figure out something else. So if you can kind of think about that as you're playing a game, even if you don't know your opponent, pay attention to who you're up against a lot in the game and see what kind of qualities they have and see how you can use that to your benefit. All right. And then specific strategies that your team might use, maybe by an opponent. Again, we tend to see a lot of teams, we play them frequently. So we kind of know how they want to play. So do they play a high line? Do they like to drop off? Where's the space going to be against this team? So if you know that ahead of time, that can help you influence your decision about what you want to do with the ball once you get it. So here, again, we looked at this clip before. So that the opponent, so we talked about as soon as that first touch happens and the first touch goes forward, defender steps, all right? Defender steps to it. That influences the decision. Okay, now I know I'm going to pass the ball. So the opponent affects it. Now she wants to carry the ball forward. She feels the pressure. That wide player feels the pressure coming from behind. So she's like, okay, I got to find a pass. And hopefully her teammates are reading that, oh, there's going to be pressure on her. So we've got to find a pass. All right, and then again, this is the goal. So she sees that space, bigger touch into the space. And one of the things I want to highlight here that might get missed. So if we look at this player out wide, we talk about making defenders make decisions. Both of these defenders in red get focused on this player without the ball out wide and drop off. So that influences our player's decision. She says, okay, you both are going to drop off and give me space. I'm going to continue to dribble into that space then. If they stepped, maybe she makes a different decision. But because the opponents drop off, Lauren says, I'm going to go and attack the space, and then she's going to take the shot and score a goal. So that's how when we look at the opponent, we have to think about that. If Lauren would have decided in this moment, I still want to pass to this player, that probably would not have been very successful because of what the opponent did.
So I'll chime in for 15 seconds here. In that moment, Lauren quickly assessed things like how far is the defender, where am I on the field, you know, how much space do I have, you know, and you make the decision. And it's, you got to be a little braver in the final third if you want to change the game, so you can take more risk. And my favorite part about it is there's something I always tell my strikers: beat them once and beat them fast. And if you notice, she does not slow the game down. She sees the space, she beats her once, she beats her fast, she executes her decision. I think this does work out for a goal.
Yeah, it's a goal.
But that would be good advice for a striker: beat them once and beat them fast.
All right, so teammates, location, numbers. How many teammates do you have? How many options do you have? Do you only have one teammate and one pass, or do you have multiple teammates? And maybe all of your teammates are asking you for the ball. They should be asking you for the ball, but ultimately you get to make that decision. So if your teammate's mad that you didn't pass them the ball, just to say, hey, I passed it to her because of this. Right? Or if you're the teammate shouting for the ball and she makes another decision and it works out, then you have to be like, okay, well, at least you had multiple options, or he had multiple options. How far is your teammate from the ball? All right, is it a long pass? Am I good at long passing? Goes back to individual qualities. Am I terrible at long? Am I on my left foot and I cannot use my left foot for anything other than running and standing on? It's not good for kicking. So we have to figure out, or is it a closer pass? All right. Again, when we talk about teammates, risk and security, ambition versus control. So is it risky or is it secure? Is it better for me to stay on the ball and dribble? Is that more secure than passing it to a teammate who has a defender right on her back? I don't know. I mean, every situation is different, but that's what we need to think about. All right. As Jesse just said, when we're in the final third, we need to be a little bit riskier. We need to have a little bit more ambition about going to goal. So we have to think about, where am I on the field? Any specific information about your teammates? Is she fast? Is she slow? Does she have a good shot? Is she going to be on her left foot and she struggles on her left foot? Or is she going to be on her right foot and she struggles on her right foot? Is she a great passer of the ball? Those types of things. So what information do you know about how your teammate? Does she like the ball at feet? Does she like the ball into space? Things like that. And then specific strategies or tactics that your team is using for that game. So maybe a team has really slow center backs and you want to play in behind them as much as you can. So maybe you're looking to pass a little bit more behind the center backs when they're high, and you have somebody running in behind them. Or maybe your team wants to dribble a little bit more because they're individually weak defensively. So you just got to kind of think about that sort of thing. All right. And then think about what's my teammate going to be able to do next. So I might pass the ball. She might be, I might have pressure on me and I pass the ball to my teammate, but then she doesn't have any space to play. She's got 3 defenders around her and we lose the ball anyway. So we have to think about what's my teammate going to be able to do next, or what am I if I dribble and beat this one player, are there 4 more players behind that first defender? And all of a sudden I'm not going to have anywhere to go. So we have to think about that sort of thing too. So we're looking at those instances here. So this is that little sequence. So we don't really need to dissect this one because we talk about areas of the field. We kind of talked about this already. All right, you see really good decision to pass. Teammates were open. All right, this one we talked about. In this particular case, maybe this player could have got a bit wider. Maybe they could have showed for the ball and created a combination. This was okay what happened, but maybe we could have made it a little bit better. But if we look at the next clip, it's similar. This is that escape from pressure. So we talk about teammates. This time her position, it's the same player. Her positioning is excellent because she's right in the passing lane. If she tries to play a longer pass, it's probably not going to work because there are defenders there. All right. So she recognizes, all right, her teammate needs her help. She's under pressure, so she needs a closer pass. So she needs to move to the ball a little bit. She doesn't want to go as wide because that makes the pass longer. All right. And then when she receives it, she already knows that there's going to be pressure on her. So she just plays one touch right away. All right. And those teammates were there to provide that option. You can see as that pass is made, got to go here. As this first pass is made, you'll see this player at the top of the screen start to move over in case we need to play backward to her. See, she's already on the move. So when the pass gets played, boom, she's already there. And then forward to that, ball goes back. You see a player, this player up top has already started to make her run to provide that option for her teammates. So where our teammates are moving and where they're located is going to influence whether or not we pass or dribble. And then lastly, situation, how much time's in the game? What's the score of the game? Is it, what kind of competition? Is it a friendly? Is it a league game? Is it a cup game? Is it a showcase? Some of those are going to influence, how we want to play the game. Obviously, if it's a state cup final, it's a little bit different than playing, a friendly, against a different team in the dome. Those aren't always going to be the same thing. What type of, is it like your third game in 3 days, at a showcase? All right, then maybe you don't have the energy to dribble as much. Maybe your passes need to be quicker and simpler and shorter. Maybe you don't want to play as many balls in behind. You can't play any, but maybe you don't want to play them in behind. So we need to know the situation. And then the physical demand. Like, again, are you guys tired? Have you played a lot of games in a short amount of time? Is it hot out? Has that taken a lot of energy? So we have to think about those things as well. And then the last one is individual qualities. So are you a dribbler or a passer? I said before, you might not be the best dribbler. Well, that's going to influence. I'm probably going to pass more than dribble if I'm not the best dribbler. Or if I'm a great passer, I might be okay at dribbling, but I might want to pass more because I'm really good at that. Or maybe I'm an amazing dribbler, and every time I get it, my first thought is, can I dribble? All right, and that's okay. Are you one-footed or two-footed? Can you use both feet, or are you just all right-footed or all left-footed? Does that mean you're going to not dribble or not pass? No, but it's going to make you think, well, if I do this, then I'm going to have to use my left foot, and I really don't like to use my left foot. So maybe I should do something different. What's your range of passing? Can you play longer passes? Can you only play shorter passes? Can you play left foot? Can you play right foot? And dribbling strength. Again, are you a good dribbler? So if we look at this clip, this is the last clip we have. All right, 2 things to look at. All right, so we're playing out of the back here. Again, we're in black in this one. You notice the body shape of that player. We talked about that earlier. So we kind of put all the things together in this clip. So this body shape's already forward. So she can immediately start to play forward. All right. She's got space. So she's going to drive into it. All right. So individual qualities. Whoop. Individual qualities. She's a player who can serve that ball behind the back line in the air. Maybe she's not. Then if she can't do that, then it's probably not a great idea to play the pass. But she can. She has to know, I can hit this pass, right? And then that makes her decision. Now, if you look at the backs here, they're already dropping off, all right? So this might, in a lot of circumstances, might not be the best pass in the world because the defenders are already dropping off. This player maybe could show to the ball and ask for space. But we're going to see the end result of this. So when Caitlin plays this pass, 1, she knows I can hit this pass. And 2, I'm playing it to one of the fastest players on my team, who I know can outrun their opponent. So knowing the individual qualities of yourself and knowing the individual qualities of your teammates is a big factor in helping us make decisions about whether we're going to pass or whether we're going to dribble. So that's all we have for this webinar. We've talked a little bit about what the next one's going to be. It's going to be about the positioning of that player who's receiving the pass or supporting the player to maybe attract the attention of the defenders and allow the player with the ball to continue to dribble because the defender has to choose between 2 options. If you have any questions now, all right, absolutely put them into chat. We appreciate you being here. we are going to, we've recorded this, so we'll send a link out to it. Hopefully the videos will work better. But if there's a specific video clip that is choppy, but you really want to look at, all you have to do is email me or contact me or contact your coach or Nate, and they'll get my contact info to you, and then I can send you that individual clip, no problem. If there's one in particular that you want to look at. So again, thank you guys so much. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here in a minute, and I think Nate had an issue with,
Question.
Yeah, Jeff.
Any takeaways? If anybody wants to just write, what's something that they took away from this, so that we kind of have an idea of what points kind of stuck out to you. Doesn't have to be a lengthy comment. Just what's your takeaway that you remembered from this? Feel free to write it in the group chat. And thank you for your time, everybody.
I tell you what I'll do for everybody. I will, hold on, where am I at here? How do I do this? I don't know where it's at.
What we'll do is once we get the link, we'll send it off to everybody and with your information to Joe. And people have questions.
All right, so I will unmute you all for a moment. So if you would like to say goodbye or hello to each other, you can do that. Nate, Jesse, and I will probably sign off for this part. So thank you. We really appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you next Wednesday, all right? Stay safe, everybody. Wash those hands.
Hi,
Dylan.
Thank you.
Hi, people.
Emma.
Oh, hi, Nate.
Hi.
Hey, where's Nate?
Clara, hi, Ivy.
Taylor.
Hi, Chloe. Hi, Clara.
Chloe, hi, Dylan.
I know.
Hey, Dylan.
Hi, Dylan.
Other people think she's cute.
I have 500. We should probably leave. How do I exit?
Hi, Chloe. Hi, Ivy.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. I'm leaving.
Sorry.
Wait, I'm gonna be the last person on here. That's my goal.
Chloe. Oh, hi, Lucy.
My goal is to be the last person on here.
Hi, guys.
I would.
Chloe, where are
Stay
you?
on here.
Chloe, where are you?
I'm talking right now. Can you see me now?
Hi.
Bye, guys.
Hi.
See you now. Okay, my goal is to be the last person on here, so good luck trying to go. Joaquin's still on.
Joaquin?
What's going on?
Okay.
Hi, Joaquin.
What's going on? What are you guys doing?